Alright guys, so we're checking out another budget FPV goggle here on the channel. This is obviously an analog FPV goggle, and this one's called the VR01 from BetaFPV. This looks really similar, and I think it's using the same mold, or the plastic mold for the goggle from an old goggle from, I think it was made by GearBest like years ago, and it's obviously discontinued. I can't get it anymore. I can't even find it anymore. I definitely know this looks pretty similar, or it might be the same mold as that old goggle, but I believe that all the electronics and parts are probably updated now to whatever BetaFPV specified. I think they're just using this basically as a frame for holding the parts inside. So, standard disclaimer here for FPV goggles. Your mileage will vary. It's very subjective. This might be the absolute best goggle for you. It might be the absolute worst goggle for you. It might actually be probably somewhere in between. And that is kind of the way things are with pretty much all goggles out there. If you're looking for the absolute gold standard in FPV goggles, you have to spend the money. You have to get the HDO2s from Fat Shark and the Rapid Fire. I think it's a total cost about $700. These, fortunately, cost less. They're about $55, I believe. You can pick them up at Race Day Quads and at BetaFPV. I'll link them down in the description. If you're just starting out with FPV and looking for a budget goggle, this one here is not bad. There's a lot of good budget goggles out there. I'll link my FPV goggle playlist down in the description. You guys could check out some of the other ones out there. This one here is right in the same ballpark, similar in a lot of specs in terms of the reception, in terms of the weight, battery life. It's got DVR built in. A lot of these analog budget FPV goggles are pretty similar. So really what it comes down to is your personal preference when it comes to weight. Basically, are you able to focus on the screen, and does it fit your face, and how comfortable it is? All of those things are really hard to determine from a video. So I'm just going to share my personal experience with these. Your experience with these will probably be quite different, and everyone's eyes and face shape is different, and that is why reviewing these things are very, very difficult. All I can do is convey how things felt for me. So this is your typical box goggle. You have a screen here and a battery in the front. It's running on a 1S 2000 milliamp hour battery, so rated for about 2 hours. The battery seems to last a pretty long time. Has a built-in DVR, has a USB charging port right there, and an audio jack if you want to listen to your audio from your VTX, if your VTX has audio. The recordings that are on here are 1280 by 720 files. I think they're AVI files. Pretty good bit rate, like 13 to 16 megabits, so quality is pretty good for the DVR recordings in terms of analog recordings. Typical your band and channel button operation here, power button here, menu to get into there if you want to change your brightness and contrast settings. It's for example, this also acts as a search button if you want to search for whatever signal is currently broadcasting, although the search function works pretty much the same as a lot of other goggles out there. It doesn't work that great. Recording here, I'll show you that in a second. Basically, it's pretty simple to do. The screen here is a 4.3-inch screen. There's a Fresnel lens here that magnifies it and makes it pretty big. If you're looking for a really large field of view, this is pretty typical of a lot of box goggles out there. It's a very large field of view. It's clear. The screen's pretty bright. I'll turn that on here in a second. 800 by 480 is the resolution. For me personally, I don't like super large fields of view because I tend to focus on the center of the screen, and so a lot of things on the periphery get kind of lost, and for me, it's not in focus. And that's another thing about these goggles. A lot of goggles will have a adjustment thing here to move either the Fresnel lens back and forth or the screen back and forth, so that if you have eyes that can't focus on the screen, this goggle might be a problem for you. For me, with my glasses off, no problem focusing on the screen. That's typically, for me, I'm okay with that for a lot of box goggles. I know that there's some guys out there that can't focus on the screen on a lot of box goggles without some sort of glasses or something like that. And in terms of like the width here, I can't wear this with my glasses on. You may be able to modify this in some way. It obviously depends on, you know, getting glasses in here. I've heard some people modifying these kind of box goggles and actually mounting glasses inside the actual goggle itself. So again, you know, it's pretty cheap, so you could, you know, buy it and modify it if you have issues with focusing in. There are a lot of solutions out there for that, but for out of the box experience, for me, I had no problems. Again, there's no way to adjust the focus. It is what it is. So you may or may not be able to focus it on the focus on the screen out of the box. Okay, go ahead and power this on. You can see we have a OSD at the top here and the battery meter. Go ahead and let's plug in a quad. Okay, so this camera here is the Runcam Racer Nano 2, and the screen here, you know, the colors are pretty typical of this camera. Obviously it's indoor lighting, and let's see if I can get the screen to fill the whole frame of the camera. It's kind of tricky to do with two hands and keep this centered, but just to give you a look at my really super messy bench. Got a whole crap load of projects going on right now, but just to give you an idea of what this will look like for you if you're looking at this. This is just sort of give you a sense of what the screen looks like. It's very bright. In my opinion, it's quite easy to fly through. The latency is not a big issue at all on this particular screen, and my only issue is that the field of view is so large that I can't see anything on the edges when I'm flying with this one. Now to activate the DVR, you have to turn on DVR mode first, so you just press the record button and you get a red light there, and you also get a little red dot there at the top center of the screen, and then it will start recording on its own and start flashing. So you know that when it's flashing like that, it's recording, and you can see that it is flashing here as well. And to stop it, just press the button again, the red light goes off, and the red light is off at the top there. It's not blinking. That is also indicating that it's not recording. So to change your band's channel, you just press these buttons here. Press it once to activate the band channel mode, and then the little band will turn red, and you should be able to just cycle through the different bands. You can see the letter changing, and we're back to band R. And to change the channels, you just hit the channel button, activate that, and then you can cycle through each of the channels one by one, and then the frequency is shown there just to the right of that. So the DVR footage that's recorded on here is with the stock antennas. There just comes with these whip antennas here out of the box like this, and I flew it like this here. The antennas at basically 45 degrees like this. I think I'll give you the best reception. Obviously, if you want to change the antennas, you can, of course, and possibly get even better reception than that. I'd say this was totally fine for most beginner situations, park flying, not too far away. Obviously, if you want to go further away, I would recommend replacing these with a patch antenna and directing that at your quad, wherever that is. You're obviously going to get more reception, but I'm not going to test that. I didn't test that in this video. You know, this actual goggle here is targeted towards, you know, typical flyers of BetaFPV products, and this is actually going to be bundled a little bit later. I think it's going to be bundled with a Meteor 65 or something like that, some sort of a bundle kit with a goggle, the new Light 2 transmitter, and this and that quad. So don't think that's out yet at the time of the recording of this video, but that's what they're targeting. And as an RTF kit, you know, for the cost of $55, I think that this is a totally acceptable goggle for the price, assuming you're able to see the screen and clearly focus on that, and the goggle fits in your face and everything. So obviously those things, I can't say for sure whether or not those will work for you. I can just explain my situation. Okay, so this is how much the goggle weighs. It's about 320 grams, so it's you know, it's pretty average For these type of box goggles, I wouldn't say it's the lightest or the heaviest. It's just kind of average and probably typical for a lot of these other goggles out there. Anyways, that's it for my review of this goggle. You know, like I said, I think this is, for the price, it's completely acceptable in terms of quality, reception, the actual video image quality on the screen. Everything is totally fine. It really comes down to whether or not you can see the screen with these on, focusing on the screen itself, and also the fit. That is going to be really hard to explain. So let me just actually talk about the fit for me. I have a little bit of light leakage here in the upper right hand corner and left hand corner over here, and a little bit here in the nose. It's not too heavy. I do have a little bit of pressure on my cheeks, but this foam padding here is very comfortable. So then you could probably have this on here for a lengthy period of time. No problems with it actually hurting your face or anything like that. It's just that for me, I'm able to focus on the center of the screen totally fine. It's clear. It's just that the edges are out of my view and on my peripheral vision are kind of blurry because the field of view is extremely large. So I don't think this is a typical case for a lot of people. A lot of people actually prefer the larger field of view. For me, I think it has to do with my eyes. I just can't see the whole field of view on a lot of typical box goggles. So that is just a personal sort of issue with my eyes and these box goggles, which is why I don't use them. Anyway, so that's going to do it for this review of the VR01s. These are available at BetaFPV and Race Day Quads. I'll link them down in the description. And if you're looking for a budget analog goggle to get started, flying like a whoop or something like that, this is totally acceptable for the price. And I think that it is, pretty typical for a lot of these box goggles out there. Anyway, that's going to do it for this review, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.